Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Today is June 22nd, 2023. Top story this morning, Tesla stock has been downgraded again, citing valuations. That's right, folks. Wall Street analysts are using the word valuation and Tesla in the same freaking sentence. Somebody pinch me. Am I dreaming? Are they actually talking about the value of Tesla stock, about the price of Tesla stock? Instead of just saying, oh, every car in the world is going to be an EV by next Tuesday, buy more, FOMO into calls, number go up. Nope, they're actually talking about fundamentals. I don't know where this abrupt shift came from, but suddenly people are paying attention to what we're paying for things. It's almost like they were watching my live stream on Friday afternoon. By the way, my live stream on Friday afternoon, if you want to call a market top, I was talking to my moderator, Mish, about that. We had one of the lowest attendances or the lowest view counts on the Friday afternoon live stream in a long time. And we were talking about that, saying that was melonhead capitulation, marking the top in the market. And we've now had, what is this, the fifth consecutive negative open since that live stream. So Tesla stock got downgraded yesterday by Barclays. Again, they got downgraded this morning by Morgan Stanley. Also going on in markets, we've got a strike at the Spirit Aerosystems factory in Wichita, Kansas. Now, you might be saying, who? Spirit Aerosystems? Spirit Aerosystems, and that particular factory is a key node in the supply chain for Boeing jets in particular. They're all-important 737 MAX. They make the primary fuselage for the 737 MAX. They also make structural components for some Airbus planes. So even though this is just one factory and it doesn't really seem like a massive strike or a massive thing, this could disrupt the entirety of the Boeing supply chain, which could, the ripple effects, the knock-on effects of this could actually have a measurable impact in GDP. So that's a story to keep an eye on. Spirit Aerosystems stock was down 10% pre-market. Boeing and Airbus were both down 1% and change. So that's a story worth watching. Ford just caught a $9.2 billion loan from the government, courtesy of Build Back Better's Inflation Reduction Act. That didn't really reduce inflation, but a big loan from the government to build 3 EV battery factories across the United States. And I talked about this in a short video last week. Manufacturing construction in the United States is booming. We're spending more money to build factories right now than any point in decades. Of course, it's all government subsidized, so it's not necessarily a great economic indicator. It's not really a sign of health. It's more like the little girl who sells the most Girl Scout cookies because mom and dad bought 1,000 boxes, right? Unless it's actually organic, unless we actually get tangible economic value generated from these factories, then it will just turn out to be another wasteful government program. Only time will tell if the EV story ever actually becomes reality. And lastly, we got the Bank of England surprised with a 50 basis point rate hike this morning. The market was largely expecting a 25 basis point rate hike. That's got the pound surging right now. So central banks continue their hawkish moves across the globe, even though, if you ask me, I think we are spiraling towards deflation rather than inflation. Although inflation remains stubbornly high, it is falling fast in a lot of places in the world. And with that, I have to say thank you so much to the sponsor of today's live stream, Patriot Gold. You know, guys, we're talking about strikes. We're talking about downgrades. We're talking about the market at a top, potentially a sell-off beginning. We could be in the 5th day of it right now. It's a good time to mention the safety trade, guys. Where's the best place to go for safety in any market mayhem? It is as far down Exter's pyramid as you can get, and it doesn't get any lower on Exter's pyramid than gold, and I would add it gold's shiny cousin, silver. They are two of my favorite investments, not because I think the price is going to moon, not because I think it's going to make me rich, but because once it is parked in gold or silver, it is safe from the manipulations of they with a capital T, they being the bankers, the central bankers, and the elected officials. So go to nsfgold.com. There's a link down below in the description, or call 888-988-5401. And of course, don't forget to tell them that nobody sent you. And with that, we are going to shrink my big melon of a head, and let's see what's going on in the market this morning. We've got the S&P 500 is down 11 points, or 0.25%, trading at 4,354. The Dow is down 75 or 0.22. It was down over 100 pre-market, so it could be a little bit worse than it actually is right now. And the NASDAQ leading the way lower, down 0.25% or 33 points, trading at 13,471, although it looks like it may have caught a bounce at the open. Looking at the U.S. dollar right now, the DXY is up 17 basis points or 102.24. Keep an eye on the Dixie over the next few days, guys. We've got the Federal Reserve is holding still. We've got Jerome Powell testified yesterday in front of Congress, said more rate hikes may be necessary. That was at the House Financial Services Committee. Today, he's going in front of the Senate Banking Committee, so we should get more of the same. But we've also got this story from the UK. Bank of England steps up inflation fight with a surprise rate hike to 5%. The Bank of England unexpectedly raised its benchmark interest rate by a 0.5 percentage point, stepping up its fight against the worst bout of inflation since the 1980s and warning it may have to hike again. The 9-member Monetary Policy Committee, or the MPC, voted 7-2 for an increase to 5%, which exactly matches the rate at the Federal Reserve, the highest level in 15 years and the biggest move since February. Markets had priced in only a 40% chance of a half-point hike, with most economists anticipating a 0.25 point. So we've got more tightening over at the BOE, even though a lot of people are saying the UK is barreling towards a sovereign debt crisis. Hiking rates when you're on the brink of a sovereign debt crisis seems a little dangerous, but then again, that's kind of what central banks do. Just taking a look at the DXY, this is the US dollar measured against other currencies, notably the pound, the euro, the yen. Right now, it looks like the DXY peaked on May 31st. That's when Nick Timiraos issued that article where he basically said, Jerome Powell told me they're not going to raise in June. That ended up being true, and the dollar has kind of headed lower ever since. That also coincides with it was a day before the deal for the debt ceiling was reached. So the U.S. dollar is still heading lower. We're coming up on this 101, roughly 101 level that's acted as support several times in recent history. So we'll see what happens if we continue this slide and we get near that 101 level. Do we bounce just in time for a July rate hike that most people think is coming, or do we break down below? Only time will tell. Looking over in the bond market, we've got the 10-year yield is up 4 basis points at 3.76 today. The 2-year is up 4 basis points to 4.74. So yields, notably on the long end, are a little bit higher this morning. The short end of the curve, the 1 month, is down 1 basis point to 5.08. Looking over at commodities, gold is down $11, trading at $1,934, down about 0.5% today. Silver, the bludgeoning continues, down another 30 cents or 1.3% this morning, trading at $22.50. Big move in the COMEX yesterday. There was about 4.5 million ounces of silver moved from the eligible category over to the registered. Somebody with very deep pockets put an awful lot of silver up on the market yesterday, anticipating delivery, I take it, for these contracts that are just about to expire. Looking over at oil, we've got oil's down $2.34 this morning, 3.25%, trading at 70.17, still right around that high 60s, low 70s range it's been bouncing around in for a couple of days. And lastly, natural gas is down not even a penny, 0.25% at $2.59 this morning. But here's some of these stories today, guys. This really surprised me. First, the one from yesterday. Tesla stock gets downgraded. Investors shouldn't disregard fundamentals. And you might as well be speaking Spanish to Tesla investors, because Tesla investors wouldn't know fundamentals. I don't know. I was about to say something inappropriate there. Tesla investors don't care about fundamentals. There, I said it. After Tesla stock's epic run, Wall Street needs to fish or cut bait on the stock, and Barclays decided to cut bait. Analyst Dan Levy on Wednesday downgraded Tesla. He downgraded the shares to hold from a buy while taking his price target to $260 from $220. And how much are these Wall Street analysts making? What are they paying Dan Levy over there? First of all, he downgrades this stock, and then he raises the price target in the same sentence. Way to get out in front of that one, Dan. By the way, his price target to $260, that's basically what it was trading at yesterday. So his price target was $220. It blew right before that. And then so he goes ahead and he downgrades the stock, and he puts his price target exactly where it's trading at. Man, I'm in the wrong line of work. I should be an analyst for Barclays. I think I could do really well. I mean, heck, I could downgrade and raise price targets all day long. Give me what you're paying Dan Levy. I could do that. And then today we got this one over at Morgan Stanley, Tesla stock is downgraded again, the second time in 2 days, saying the price is just too high. And they're channeling the rent is too damn high guy from New York. I can see him pointing up at the ceiling saying Tesla stock is just too damn high. Tesla stock got downgraded again. Wall Street is having trouble justifying some incredible recent gains for the shares. Again, that sounds like valuations. That sounds like fundamentals. Who are these people? Wall Street, I feel like I don't even know you anymore. Morgan Stanley analyst Adam Jonas downgraded Tesla shares on Thursday to hold from buy, another downgrade, while increasing his price target to $250 from $200. Another downgrade and price target rare. It's almost like the analysts are just arbitrarily throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks, and they don't really know what they're doing. And they're just saying what I've been saying for a while, guys. They're paying too much for these stocks. Price matters, valuations matter, fundamentals matter. And of course, Tesla stock is getting slammed this morning, down another $3 or 1.5% after being down, about $5 yesterday. Tesla stock has fallen all the way down to where it was trading at, 9 days ago? So Tesla gave up the last couple days of its FOMO rally. Hardly a massive sell-off in Tesla stock. It's still trading at a PE of 73 times earnings. And even when you factor in Tesla's growth, which admittedly is fantastic, its price to earnings to growth ratio is still over 3. So Tesla's got a lot of room to fall, and it would still be considered overvalued. But again, valuations in Tesla, I'm not used to these things being mentioned in the same sentence. So is this a paradigm shift in the way people look at Tesla? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Also in the EV space, we've got Ford. Check this one out. They got a $9.2 billion to help the U.S. catch up with China's EV dominance. This one's in Bloomberg this morning. It's one of the biggest loans to a U.S. car maker in more than a decade, a watershed moment for Biden's $400 billion plan to go all in on green technologies. A deep-pocketed U.S. government program designed to finance futuristic energy businesses is issuing a conditional $9.2 billion loan to Ford Motor Company for the construction of 3 battery factories. The enormous loan, by far the biggest government backing for a U.S. automaker since the bailouts in the 2009 financial crisis, marks a watershed moment for President Joe Biden's aggressive industrial policy meant to help American manufacturers catch up to China in green technologies. You know, that's one way to say it. It's a watershed moment for his aggressive industrial policy. Another way to say it is this is a move that everybody could see coming because last year, in order to fight inflation, the government loaned into existence trillions of dollars and decided to dump it onto its pet projects, in this case, electric vehicles. Never mind the fact that the American power grid cannot possibly handle all of these electric vehicles that they're saying are going to be on the road in the next couple of years. So my skepticism for electric vehicles remains. Look, Tesla cars and some of these Ford EVs, they're admittedly awesome, but the fact is the power grid can't sustain it. The grid just cannot handle it. At the rate we're going, at the rate our grid is decaying as demand on the grid rises, we'd be lucky just to have the lights on in another 10 years, let alone have the lights on and put all of our gas tanks on the power grid. It just, right now, there is nothing on the horizon that I see that can change that. But for the time being, there's a lot of money being spent on construction. And this is another one to watch, guys. Spirit Aerosystems to halt work at Wichita plant as union votes to strike. This one just hit this morning. And here we go. Spirit Aerosystems on Thursday will suspend factory production at its plant in Wichita, Kansas, the company said, as workers rejected a proposed four-year deal and announced the strike to begin on June 24th. Spirit is one of the most consequential suppliers for aerospace heavyweights Boeing and Airbus, with the Wichita site making the entire fuselage of Boeing's best-selling 737 MAX narrow-body jet and the forward section of most of its other aircraft, as well as pylons for the Airbus A220. This is a vital point in the supply chain for airliners. And guys, airliners, that is a massive industry. If this goes on for any sustained period of time, this could actually have an impact on GDP. When Boeing gets a big deal to sell a lot of these 737, it shows up in the next quarterly GDP report. Likewise, if this causes a delay in those deliveries or any kind of a delay in the payments or the accounting, well, this could actually detract from GDP. So this is one to keep an eye on, guys. Even though Spirit Aerosystems may not be a company most people have heard from, everybody has heard of Boeing. And don't forget Airbus. All the stocks are down this morning on that story. And last but not least, we have got United States initial jobless claims came in at 264,000 for the week. That is 3 consecutive weeks of higher initial jobless claims, guys. We got a new baseline now, 3 weeks in a row. They're up. So higher unemployment is coming, although it may take a little longer to get here because while we've had 3 consecutive weeks of substantially higher initial jobless claims, continuing jobless claims remain stubbornly low, coming in at 1.7 million. So a lot of initial jobless claims, a lot of people going on the unemployment rolls, but it looks like for now they're coming right off. We'll see if that continues and if that trend changes. All right. And I have to say thank you so much. Where are you there? EC660, a.k.a. Patrick the Starfish. He's out from beneath his rock and he's back. Thank you, sir, for the super chat. He says, I'm tired of civilization. Headed back to the swamp. See you guys in a few weeks. Send smoke signals if anything drastic happens. Well, EC660, I will just tell you, anytime I am tempted to fret about the situation globally, and if I see the world going in a swampward direction, I get what you're saying there, I tend to shift my focus more locally, and I find that helps. All right, maybe you can't have a direct, immediate, measurable impact on the world and on the global situation, but you do affect your immediate surroundings and your immediate local situation. So if you see the world going to H in a handbasket, narrow your focus to your local situation, improve what's going on in your own house, in your own town, in your own community and neighborhood. If enough people do that, maybe the global situation helps. So start small, EC660, and don't let the man get you down. Once again, thank you, sir, for the super chat and support of the channel. All right, guys, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that very much. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. I appreciate everything you guys do for the channel. Had a great discussion with my Patriot guys yesterday on our weekly Zoom call. Shout out to my man, Mike Binder, who did a fine bit of DD for that call. That went really well, Mike. Link down below should you feel so inclined, right next to the link to Patriot Gold, who sponsored this stream. Thanks again to Patriot Gold. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I love you guys. And until next time, live small and dream big.